Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. My name is Khaldoun Azhari. I'm a former president, and I'm moderating this event today. First, I would like to introduce our speakers. In the middle, Mr. Patrik Jonsson. He is chairman of Japan-based Executive Committee of Pharma. And to my very right, Ms. Amy Jackson. She's a Japan representative of the same company, Pharma. And to the right is Mr. Kazuhiko Nishizawa. He's Chief Senior Economist, Economic Department of the Japan Research Institute. And to his right is our interpreter for the event today. Today, the theme is how the pharma industry can help Japan become the best place to live and age. And as Japan society is rapidly aging with its birth rate constantly below replacement levels, the inevitable question has loomed large. How can the healthcare system of the world's third largest economy be sustained on a large-term basis? Pharma, it stands for Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, offers to share with our club, FCCJ, its insights on how the pharmaceutical industry can help Japan maintain its current healthcare system while continuing to bring innovative medicine to the Japanese people, who top the world's country-to-country life expectancy table at 83.7 for both sexes. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask our speakers to start their presentation. Every speaker will talk about 10 minutes. That total will be 30 minutes. That will be followed by a Q&A session. We would like to start today with Ms. Amy Jackson, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Amy Jackson, and I'm the Pharma Japan representative. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining us here today. So if I can start just with a basic introduction of Pharma for those of you who don't know what Pharma is. Pharma is an industry trade association based in Washington, D.C. that represents the world's leading biopharmaceutical research companies. We have US-based, EU-based, and Japan-based companies, and the latter of which includes Astellas, Daiichi Sankyo, Eisai, Otsuka, and Takeda. Our members are devoted to discovering and developing medicines that will enable patients around the world to live longer, healthier, and more productive lives. In fact, Pharma members reinvest on average 20% of their revenue every year into the search for new treatments and cures. And in 2016, the R&D dollars invested by the biopharmaceutical in the US alone topped more than $90 billion. The Pharma Japan office was established in 1987 and currently represents 11 US-based pharmaceutical companies operating in Japan. And since our establishment in 1987, Pharma Japan has engaged in various activities with the aim of actively and constructively contributing to the Japanese healthcare system. We put high importance on working directly with the Japanese government, policymakers, healthcare providers, patient groups, the media, and other stakeholders to achieve mutual goals. In addition, we work very closely with other industry associations such as the Japanese Pharmaceutical Manufacturer Association, or JPMA, the Federation of Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association of Japan, or FPMAJ, and the European Federation of Pharmaceutical Industries and Associations in Japan, or FPA Japan. And we work with all of them to develop constructive policy proposals, which we share with the Japanese government on a continuing basis. I'd like to take a moment to set the stage for our conversation today about how the innovative pharmaceutical industry can help ensure the long-term sustainability of the Japanese healthcare system. Until 2010, the Japanese healthcare ecosystem lacked fundamental incentives to promote innovation. Further, its regulatory approval system, led by the Pharmaceuticals and Medical Devices Agency, or PMDA, lacked sufficient resources. As a result, there was a significant so-called drug lag in Japan, And that meant that Japanese patients received access to innovative new medicines approximately 3 to 4 years after their US and European counterparts. But in 2010, the Japanese government, working together very closely with stakeholders from throughout the system, developed and implemented a set of pro-innovation policies and incentives meant to encourage drug development in Japan and speed up regulatory approvals here. One key element of this new system was the establishment of the so-called Price Maintenance Premium System, or we call it PMP. Despite its name, the Price Maintenance Premium System simply maintains the initial price of covered products for the duration of their patents. After covered products go off patent, all the accumulated price cuts that would have been applied under Japan's biennial price-cutting system are applied all at once. So the premium concept really only means that covered medicines get pricing stability for the term of the patent and are excluded from the regular price cuts just during the time of the patent. These policies, including the price maintenance premium, were extremely successful and brought tangible benefits to Japan. And these include the fact that the drug lag has been almost eliminated. So now Japanese patients are getting much earlier access to cutting-edge medicines than they did in the past. Investment in Japan in this sector, which is largely in the form of clinical trials, has significantly grown, which benefits the Japanese economy. Further, PMDA has become one of the fastest and most efficient regulatory bodies in the world. So today, due in no small part to these pro-innovation policies the Japanese government implemented in 2010, over 1,000 medicines are in development in Japan today, providing hope for patients in need of new medicines and supporting tangible economic activities in Japan. So since 2010, Japan has been known for its strong desire to promote innovation in the healthcare sector as one potential growth engine of the Japanese economy, and for its stable and predictable regulatory and drug pricing and reimbursement regime. However, at the end of 2016, the Japanese government made a sudden announcement that it intended to fundamentally change its drug pricing and reimbursement system. And since that time, the government has undertaken a process to develop the details of this new system, but unfortunately, most of that discussion has taken place behind closed doors. Last December, as part of this reform process, the government announced major changes to the price maintenance system that significantly narrow the number of products that will be covered and deny the full benefits of coverage to the majority of companies in this market. Key decisions on the implementation of a new so-called Health Technology Assessment, or HTA system, as well as a move to annual price cuts in the Japanese market, are due to be made in the coming months. It's clear that with Japan's rapidly aging society, there are serious challenges and risks confronting Japan's healthcare system. And it is quite understandable that there are growing concerns about its long-term sustainability. However, many stakeholders, including the innovative pharmaceutical industry, are concerned about the direction that the Japanese government is currently taking. Key policy decisions are being made without adequate consultation with patient groups, healthcare providers, industry, and other key stakeholders. Further, many of the policies made to date have been short-term cost-cutting measures focused largely on the innovative pharmaceutical industry, while the longer-term analysis of how to achieve efficiencies in the overall system have not been done. If Japan continues down this current path, this could erode the very significant and tangible benefits that Japan has gotten because of its 2010 pro-innovation policies, and could result in the return of a drug lag, which is something we all want to avoid. The innovative pharmaceutical industry shares Japan's goal of ensuring that the healthcare system remains viable and continues to bring necessary treatments and cures to Japanese patients in the long term. We are committed to working as a true partner with the Japanese government in order to promote pro-growth, pro-innovation policies for the benefit of Japanese patients and the Japanese economy. However, we believe that there are specific actions that Japan can take to address its aging society and associated healthcare challenges that still promote innovation, maintain cost savings in the system, and provide stable and predictable drug pricing and reimbursement policies that investors need. It is with these developments in mind that Pharma developed its vision report, which outlines how Japan can address these issues and how the industry can contribute constructively to making Japan the best place to live and age. With that as a backdrop, I would like to turn the mic over to Mr. Patrik Jonsson, who is the chairman of Pharma Japan and also the president of Eli Lilly Japan. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Amy, and good afternoon to all of you. We're extremely grateful to have this opportunity to share the vision of Pharma for Japan to become the best place not just to live, but also to age in. And I think Amy shared it very clearly that Japan is currently facing some unprecedented challenges with its declining and aging population. But we believe that Japan is extremely well positioned to provide the best possible healthcare while maintaining sustainability of the healthcare system. However, this will require transformational change, and the R&D-based pharmaceutical industry can truly contribute to make Japan a great place to live and age. So that's why this vision has been developed. But before I share with you the key components of the vision itself, let me just share with you some of the current realities. I think Amy presented very clearly that the pro-innovation policies implemented in Japan back in 2008 has truly activated research and development in Japan. We heard that the number of new medicines that were approved in the period in between 2010 to 2014 was 50% more than the period of 2006 to 2009. And in an essence, that eliminated the drug lack. And now, Japanese people get access to new and innovative life-saving medicines simultaneously as people in Europe and the US. But also we have seen a lot of alliances in between Japanese academia and many multinational R&D-based companies to jointly develop Japanese seeds to potentially become medicines for people in Japan and the rest of the world. But we have also learned that medicines is actually an excellent example on how to improve healthier lifespans. Today, 3 out of 5 Japanese people with cancer survive more than 5 years. And today, 80% of people return to work 12 months after their first sick leave. That is a tremendous change. We have also other areas where we are in big need of innovations to address social costs. And one is the area of dementia. Currently, the cost of dementia in Japan is estimated to annually be slightly above 14 trillion yen. And every year, 100,000 people in Japan are finishing their work, quitting working, to look after a loved one suffering from dementia. And if nothing is done, if there are no new innovations in the field of dementia, including Alzheimer's disease, in 2060, the costs are expected to be around 24 trillion yen. Another area where prevention is making a huge difference is diabetes. By treating the patient population with risk of aggravating disease, we have an annual cost of approximately 400,000 yen. But if we don't do it, they're facing high risk of dialysis for the price of 5.8 million yen. So I think this is, in essence, really underscores how medicines are really important ways of improving healthier lifespans. But not only. We have also seen that with the reforms implemented 10 years ago, the R&D-based pharmaceutical industry can truly contribute to the growth of the Japanese GDP. Currently, 11% of all investments in research and development in Japan is coming from the pharmaceutical industry. It's ranked the number 3 of all industries in investments in R&D. And it's increasing. And that increase has been driven by the reforms implemented 10 years ago. But most importantly, it's an industry that has the potential to become the second or biggest investor in R&D in Japan. And this is an industry that has also been confirmed to maintain its investment during period of financial instability and crisis. However, despite all those benefits that pro-innovation policies have brought to Japanese people, research and economy, the Japanese government announced in 2015 the period of 2016 to 2019 to be an intense reform period. They defined very clearly that the annual growth of Social Security could not exceed 500 billion yen. And as a consequence, a saving target of 440 billion yen was defined for the period of 2016 to 2019. 80% of that saving target, approximately 370 billion yen, was generated from the pharmaceutical R&D-based industry and through NHI price revision. So the part of Social Security that represent approximately 7 to 8% contributed with 80% of the saving targets. And we just believe that's not a sustainable way forward. Everyone needs to contribute. And those dramatic price cuts and dramatic changes, negative changes in Japan, needs to be seen simultaneously with what's happening in the neighbor countries in Asia. And there are some significant improvements in several areas. In the area of intellectual property, China recently announced some serious plans to strengthen the patent linkage, which is a significant security for an industry that makes long-term decisions. They also announced that they will provide a 10 years data protection for regulatory data protection for biopharmaceutical medicines. China has emerged as a leader in cell therapies. Today, they are exceeding both the US and Europe in terms of the number of clinical trials. And last fall, in 2017, the Party Congress reinforced the importance of their policy of Healthy China 2030 with significant encouragement for development in innovations, both of medicines and drug devices. And that's important to have in mind, because all countries are competing for investments. And we believe Japan should continue to be very well positioned for those investments also in the future. That's why we developed our vision on how Japan can be the best place to both live and age. And our vision is built on 3 pillars: the innovation pillar, the sustainability pillar, and the evidence pillar. And I will take you through those 3 pillars and the key ingredients of those. As I said, we believe that Japan is uniquely positioned. And we believe it's uniquely positioned because it has a strong leadership position globally in the area of basic research. We have some of the best chemists in the world. And the number of Nobel Prize winners is the second highest in the world. We also believe that there is only a handful of countries that have the scientific capabilities, the regulatory rigor, the manufacturing expertise and experience, and the ability to commercialize, as Japan has. So therefore, we believe that the potential of the Japanese research industry is significantly bigger than we currently see. So what do we believe it would take? Well, the first part that we refer to is what we call transformational research. And transformational research is about taking a molecule, an idea, through what we call preclinical research, research before it's tested in human beings. And if it works in the preclinical setting, take it through the clinical setting to potentially become a medicine. That is what we call translational research. And we believe here that there is a lot that can be done, and we are recommending a public-private partnership in between Japanese academia, AMED, the bioventure, and the R&D-based international pharmaceutical industry, including the multinational Japanese companies. That's the first component of our innovation pillar. The second one is that we are asking for harmonization of the clinical trial guidelines in Japan, global harmonization. Today, it's more costly to do clinical trials in Japan than in other markets, twice to 6 times as expensive, and it takes longer time. And we believe with the harmonization with what is called the ICH policy, Japan could be even more competitive and could be participating in many more multinational clinical trials, developing more medicines. The third component of our innovation pillar is really to ensure that there is a regulatory competitiveness. Today, there are in Europe and in US new way of accelerating approval for life-saving medicines. Those systems exist in Japan as well, but they are very rarely being implemented. And therefore, there is a risk for a new drug lag being developed. And the last, fourth component of our innovation pillar is to use data infrastructure to a much higher extent than we currently do. Japan is recognized worldwide for its attention to quality, its attention to safety. That goes for the implementation or introduction also of new medicines. But the methodology for doing so is far behind. And we believe here there is a tremendous opportunity to instead use data infrastructure to really be a leader in the world in detecting both safety and quality concerns. So that's the first pillar, the innovation pillar. The second pillar is what we call the sustainability pillar. That is all about how we can ensure a timely and affordable patient access to new and innovative medicines. Let me just first make one thing clear. When we talk about medicines, as citizens and sometimes patients, we tend to generalize medicines. But we normally differentiate in between patented medicines and generic medicines. Generic medicines is after a medicine has lost its patents, and it's normally in between 8 and 10 years. We are the ones that are bringing the generics. Because without new and innovative medicines, we would never get the generics in the market. What we are asking as Pharma, and that's a very important philosophy of ours, is make sure that there is incentive for the new innovative medicines, and as long as they are patented. When the patent expires, we believe it's correct to cut the prices significantly if needed, and also to open up for others making copies, generics, of our medicines. And we believe that's the right thing to do. By cutting costs after patent expiry, we believe it frees up resources for investment in new, innovative, hopefully life-saving medicines. So the sustainability pillar, precisely like the innovation pillar, contains 4 components. And the first one is really to make healthier lifespans a priority. What does it mean? Back in 1980, in Japan, there were almost 7.5 working employees supporting each retiree. Today, there is approximately 2 working employees supporting each retiree in Japan. And as I shared with you in the beginning, medicines are probably among the most effective ways of increasing healthier lifespans. We refer to the example of, for example, cancer and people returning to work after 12 months. The second part of our sustainability pillar is that Japan really needs to continue to be a priority destination for investments in innovation. That's what Amy referred to having been a big change 10 years ago. Now Japan is a priority market, but that's at risk with the new policies. So our second part of the sustainability pillar is really for the government to go back and do right. Revisit what they call the 2018 pricing reform, and let's make sure that innovations are incentivized. And the third component of our sustainability pillar is also linked to that. So we are saying, let's make sure innovations are incentivized. But we're also saying, let's revisit the off-patent sector. That's also us. Our medicines that are off-patent. We believe there are opportunities to further reform that sector, reducing the prices of what often is called long-listed products, and increase the use of generics whenever applicable. The fourth part of the sustainability pillar is all about prevention. We believe there are some significant opportunities in preventive care. 15,000 people are estimated by the WHO to die in Japan every year due to second-hand smoking, due to passive smoking. 15,000. Across the world, adolescent boys and girls are now provided HPV vaccines. And the mortality is reducing in all those countries. While in Japan, we have stopped providing HPV vaccines due to some actually minor safety concerns, in contrast to the benefit and the mortality reduction they are bringing. A third area is osteoporosis, particularly women above the age of 50. The prevalence of osteoporosis is very common. And although there are very clear guidelines in place also in Japan, it's significantly underdiagnosed and undertreated. And every year the cost of osteoporosis in Japan is at the magnitude of 8 billion yen, including an average hospital stay of 38 days. We believe there are significant opportunities by getting this piece right. Through prevention, through using innovative medicine for healthier lifespans, and through price cuts in the off-patent sector to really ensure sustainability and access to new and innovative medicines. Our last pillar is what we call the evidence pillar. We really believe in evidence-based decision-making, but also all stakeholders being involved and having a say in a transparent way. I referred earlier to the importance of capitalizing or building on the data infrastructure. There is a global database in Japan named MedNet. We believe by combining that and other big medical databases, Japan could be the leader among the big nations in the world when it comes to having data medical records for each and every one of us. That means for each patient, at each hospital, by each doctor. That would enable much more efficient treatments and reducing the waste in healthcare. But it would also allow us to see differences in treatment patterns in different parts of Japan and identify unmet medical needs. The second component of our evidence pillar is about value assessment. And without being too technical, we are here referring to something that is called health technology assessments that has been implemented overseas. And actually, wherever it has been implemented, it has failed because it has been impeding patients' access to new and innovative medicines. So we're providing some strong recommendations here on how a possible HTA should be implemented in Japan. And lastly, take patients' voice into account. Let's listen to all the stakeholders. And we also, as the industry, we have experiences from countries across the globe and quite a lot of both good, best, and bad practices to share with the Japanese government. So in an essence, we believe that with the unprecedented challenges Japan is facing, more of the same will not be enough. Transformational change is needed and required. And we believe this country is well positioned. We have covered the areas where we believe we can contribute. We cannot provide all the answers, but at least we are coming across as a serious and constructive partner in doing whatever we can, representing our industry. With the proposals we brought forward, we really believe that both patient, healthcare, and the Japanese economy are winners. Patients, because they will continue to get access to the newest, cutting-edge medical innovations, improving, extending lives. We will have healthier lifespans, continue to see the progress that we have seen in the area of cancer, hopefully also in Alzheimer's disease, within a not too distant future. We believe the healthcare system would be a winner because there would be a sustainable funding of innovation. And we also believe that the focus on secondary and primary prevention will make a huge difference and generate a lot of cost savings downstream in the healthcare sector. The economy would win, because it would strengthen the domestic research and development through the proposals we have on transformational research. But also it would result in a healthier population with a higher productivity and enable further economic growth. So that's what we are committed to do, to work in partnership with other stakeholders and with the government of Japan to do our utmost to make sure that Japan becomes not just the best place to live, but also to age. And with that, I have covered our sharing our vision with you, and we are extremely pleased to have with us today Professor Kazuhiko Nishizawa, who will be the next speaker.
Nishizawa です。
Thank you very much for coming. My name is Nishizawa.
私は社会保障の専門家で必ずしもこの薬の専門家 ではないんですけれども、
I'm an expert in social security, and I'm not necessarily an expert in medicine and healthcare.
その立場からお話ししたいと思います。
However, I would like to provide my perspectives from my point of view as an expert in social security.
今の提言に関しては強く共感する立場からお話ししたいと思います。
I would like to show my agreement with the views that Patrik-san presented just now about the vision that Pharma developed.
提言が出てきた背景はその日本の薬価制度だけではなくて、我が国の日本の諸制度、例えば、予算制度、政治、税制、などを、反映していると思います。
I think this proposal came not from the perspectives of drug pricing system. It is affected by different systems and institutions that Japanese government has, including the budget system and political system and fiscal systems.
例えばまず予算制度です。
First of all, about the budget system.
我が国は、単年度予算主義をとっています。
In Japan, the budget is fixed and maintained for a single year.
例えば高齢者に年金を1000億円給付するのと、薬の開発費に1000億円投資するのは財務省からしてみると一緒のお金です。
For the finance ministry, it is regarded as the same to provide the 10 billion yen to the pensions for the elderly and providing 10 billion for the pharmaceutical expenditures.
むしろ政治家にとってみれば、年金給付を1000億円削るよりも、研究開発費を1000億円削った方が、選挙上有利かもしれません。
Actually, it might be beneficial for the politician to cut 100 billion yen for the medical, pharmaceutical expenditures rather than cutting the 100 billion yen for the pension to be provided to the elderly for their perspectives for their elections.
特に近年この安倍政権になって消費税率の引き上げを2度先送りしました。
And in the recent years, once Prime Minister Abe took the office, he has postponed the increase in the consumption tax twice already.
特にその、税を上げるということを非常に、嫌います。
And the Japanese government tends to increase tax.
そこで毎年の予算の中ではその一般会計の中で特に支出規模の大きい社会保障に焦点が集まります。
And while the government is hesitant to increase tax, they place their focus heavily on social security expenditures.
その中でも、大きいものの一つが医療費であり、
And the big part of the social security expenditures that they place focus on is the medical fees.
医療費は約42兆円あります。
And it is said that the medical expenditures goes up to 4.2 trillion yen.
その、約4分の3が医者の、技術料や設備投資に対するお金です。
And that amount mostly goes to the technical fees and the doctor's fees.
で、4分の1が薬剤費、約10兆円が薬剤費です。
And 1/4 of that amount, about 10 trillion yen, is the pharmaceutical expenditures.
これは私の、推測も含みますが、
And this includes my private perspectives.
政府の立場からしますと、
From the views of the government,
医者の技術料というのはやはり削りたくない、増やしたい。
they do not want to cut the technical fees and doctors' fees. They actually want to increase doctors' fees.
そこで薬剤費を、引き下げて、
So they decide to cut the pharmaceutical costs.
医者の技術料は、そのまま、むしろ引き上げるといったことが、続いていると思います。
And continuously they have maintained or increased the doctors' fees and technical fees.
その薬の、費用は、2年に1回下げられます。
And the drug pricing revision is done biannually.
パトリックさんからもお話がありましたが、 新薬とジェネリックを分けることなく引き下げが行われます。
And drug pricing cut is applied regardless of the specified drugs, newly launched drugs or generics. There is no division between.
これは我が国にはとても我が国に特殊な薬価決定システムであるというふうに思います。
And this is a very unique system that Japan has.
税の議論、歳入を増やすという議論が全くなされない中、
And there is no discussions held around the tax and increasing revenues.
薬剤費を削るという方向性はますます強くなり、
And their direction towards cutting the pharmaceutical cost has been strengthened.
その中で今出ている、政策は、一つは、2年に1回の薬価改定を毎年改定にするということ。
And there has been a dialogue around changing the frequency of drug price revision from once in 2 years to once a year.
もう一つは、新薬創出加算 PMO の、範囲を狭めて、るということ。
And also narrowing the scope of price maintenance premiums.
ですのでこれは我が国の薬価制度だけの問題ではなくて、
It's not only about the drug pricing system for Japan.
予算制度の問題でもあり、
This is also related to the budget system.
さらにその、財政健全化に、政府が取り組み姿勢の問題でもあると思います。
And this is about the attitude of the government towards the fiscal policies as well.
これが一つ目です。
And that's the first point.
二つ目が、行政の、メンタリティ。
And also, I think this is about the awareness of how the government officials think.
が、背景にあると思います。
That's also related to this specific matter.
パトリックさんが HPV ワクチンの話をされました。
Patrik san has mentioned about the vaccines of HPV.
2011年か12年だったと思いますが、
I think it was back in 2011 or 2012.
HPV ワクチンが、義務化されました。
HPV vaccine was covered under the national program.
しかし半年も経たないうちに、
And within less than 6 months,
重い副作用が出たことが疑われたことから、
there was suspicious serious side effects associated with the vaccine.
その義務化は、外され、
That's why the vaccine was removed from the national program.
今とてもその宙ぶらりんな状況にあります。
And right now we don't have any certainty about how the vaccine will be positioned.
アメリカではこれは男性でも、ワクチンを接種すると聞いているワクチンです。
I've heard that even males get vaccinated with this type of vaccine.
こうした、背景には我が国では、薬害が疑われると、
And when in Japan, quite often that when there is a suspicious possible scandals,
行政が、批判の対象となり、
the government will be blamed.
またその裁判の対象にもなる。
And it could be the target for the lawsuit as well.
それを強く恐れる、風土、メンタリティが根底に、あると思います。
And the Japanese government culture or the mentality is to fear being sued.
ワクチンや薬は、効果とリスク、裏腹、表裏一体ですので、
And for the vaccines, it always comes with efficacy and risks at the same time.
医師の十分な説明、そして本人の納得のもとで、というのはもっと重視されるべきだと思いますが、
I think that we need to place more focus on the agreement between the doctors and the patient.
日本ではすぐにその、行政を、批判する、責めるといったところに、走りがちなところが私はあると思います。
And I think that in Japan, it's cultural that the government gets to be blamed.
それがですので、もう少し個人責任といったものが重視されていいのかと思います。
I think it's okay to put the patient responsible for the decision as well.
3つ目、これ今が2つ目です。
And that was the second point.
3つ目がデータです。
And the third point I would like to make is about the data.
日本では治験コストが高いという話がありました。
And in the Patrick-san's presentation, it was mentioned that the cost for organizing and operating clinical study in Japan is quite high.
その背景にはの一つには
And
個人の、治療予防、のデータが、個人ごとに、統一されてないということが一つあると思います。
And one of the reasons is that the treatment and the prevention data is not managed per patient.
私が例えば会社の時は会社の健康保険組合
And if you're working at a company, then you would use the health checkup system of the healthcare unions that the company arranges.
退職すると地方自治体の健康保険
And you, after you leave the company, you'd join the healthcare union of your area.
そこでデータが分断されてしまいます。
Then that's when the data is split.
あるいは私が健康診断を受けるときもいろいろな医療機関で受けます。
Or I go to different medical facilities for my medical checkups.
データの保有者は医療機関です。
And actually the data stays with the medical facilities.
その結果私の生涯にわたる、健康データが接続されません。
That means that the health data that I have for my entire life are not linked.
もしこれが接続されていれば
If it's linked,
薬が効いたのかあるいは私の生活習慣の改善が私の健康度を高めたのがよくわかるはずです。
and that would give me the information whether the drug actually worked or if I did anything about improving my health, such as diet or something.
ですのでまずこうしたデータのインフラを整備しなければ、治験コストも下がりませんし
So we need to manage and improve the data infrastructure, otherwise we won't be able to contain the cost for clinical trials.
我々患者も、不必要な検査を何度も受けたりしなければいけません。
And quite often patients have to go through cumbersome medical checkups and examinations unnecessarily.
これは根底にはやはりその日本の医療制度がやはり医療機関の方を、向いて医療機関の利益を、大きく配慮しながら、医療政策が運営されていることが根底にあると思います。
I think the fundamental issue that the Japanese healthcare system looks at medical facilities and they place a focus on how the data is managed at the healthcare facilities.
例えば我が国の医療機関ベッド数は世界の中でも人口あたりとても高い水準にあります。
Actually, the number of beds secured at each medical facility is quite high compared to other markets. あるいは MRI や CT スキャンといった光学検査機器の人口あたり保有台数も我が国は突出して高いです。 And for the number of population in Japan, the number of the high-cost medical devices such as MRI and CT scan is quite high as well.
これは我が国の医療機関が効率的に、役割分担できていない、効率的に配置されていない、証拠の一つだと思います。
However, this is also the evidence of medical facilities in Japan are not utilizing these devices efficiently and not dividing the work assigned for each facilities efficiently.
これが、3つ目です。4つ目に、最後ですけれども、
And that was the third point, and my fourth point is this.
これは日本の企業に対しての私の、受け止め方です。
And this is how I think about Japanese companies.
日本の法人税率は約 30% で
And in Japan, the corporate tax is about 30%.
世界の中でも高いグループに入っています。
It's one of the highest among the other countries.
これはでも日本の企業自身もこれをあまり大きく下げてほしいとは思っていないのではないかと思っています。
And probably the Japanese companies don't really want it to be reduced either.
それによって、外資系企業が、日本に、入ってこない。
Because of the high corporate tax, maybe foreign affiliated companies are not willing to come to Japan.
それはですから日本の企業自身の本音 としては法人税率も、下げずに、税制上のメリットは、租税特別措置のような形で得るのがきっと望ましいと本心を持っているのかもしれません。
So I assume that Japanese companies probably don't want to reduce the corporate taxes, but they would like to enjoy some kind of tax incentives.
政治も、そうかもしれません。
For the politics, maybe the same thing can be said.
自民党の、部会に出たとき、
When I was attending the commission meetings at LDP,
傍聴したときですね、
I was actually observing the meeting.
政治家の一人は、
One of the politicians said,
この薬価の議論をしているときに、
when there was a dialogue about the drug price,
製薬企業のうち外資系企業と日本の企業の売り上げを分けろと言いました。
And this politician suggested that we need to look at the sales and revenues of domestic pharmaceutical companies and foreign affiliated companies separately.
それぞれ PMO でどれくらい、を得ているのか。
How much PMO is getting?
しかし、企業がグローバルに活動しているときに、
However, when the companies are operating globally,
内資系日本の企業と外資系企業を分けることはどれほど意味があるのかと思います。
I had a question mark about why do we have to separate the domestic companies and foreign affiliated companies when they are operating globally.
しかし、残念ながらと言いますか、やはり政治も日本の企業もそういう感覚なのかなと思います。
Probably, unfortunately, politicians and also Japanese companies feel this way.
ですので、エイミーさんとパトリックさんのプレゼンテーションの中で、
And the presentations by Amy-san and Patrik-san today,
サステナビリティ、国民皆保険を、守る。
and there was a discussion about the sustainabilities and maintaining the universal healthcare coverage,
真のパートナーである。
and being the true partner,
あとペイシャントのためである。
and this everything is for the patients.
というのはとても強く患者側に立っている。
And they are thinking from the patient perspectives.
というプレゼンテーションと受け止めてますので、とても強く共感、します。
That's how I understood their presentations. That's why I echo strongly with their views.
私の方からは以上です。
That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for today's presentations. We open the floor to Q&A. Please, if you have any question, raise your hand and proceed to the front mic there. First question. Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the lectures. My name is Jochen Legewie of CNC. I have two questions to Mr. Jonsson. And Amy-san, if you want to support, please do so. Number one, you mentioned, referring to the sustainability pillar, the 15,000 deaths of passive smoke in Japan. Since 4 years in Japan, there has been a new category, heat not burn, be introduced. Japan is a global leader for this category of heat not burn products, which are clearly less harmful, probably not without any harm. How do you as an organization see the potential of these products to reduce the death of passive smoke? Question number two, if you have the chance to give one wish, one request, one strong recommendation to the Japanese government out of the many areas you mentioned, which one would be the one key message you want the Japanese government to listen and to act on? Thank you.
Let me start. Yes, in terms of what we're willing to do in the area of passive smoking, it's not our field of expertise. But we have partnered, for example, with JMA, the Japanese Medical Association, on several areas, and one of them being prevention, and one of them being prevention of smoking. I don't know specifically the product that you are referring to, or the invention that you're referring to, but I think 15,000 people dying in second smoking every year, that's completely unacceptable. And I think, if I remember correct, the annual number that passes away due to direct smoking is 130 or 135,000 a year. So I think whatever can be done to reduce that figure is the right thing to do for people, but also for the overall healthcare system and for the Japanese economy. To the second one, it's always hard to make one priority, but I think looking at the significant benefits that innovation have brought to Japan the last 10 years, and where the global competitiveness is very strong, I think it is make sure to incentivize innovations. Not pay more than the global appropriate level, but let's make sure that Japan is competitive, because that's the number one requirement in order to be a target for continued strong investments. And I think that's a necessity.
Next question, please. First. Okay, please ask short question, please. Yes, okay. Thank
you. Mitsuya Goto. I have long been an associate member of this club, but 5 years ago they made me a life member, so I don't pay annual fees to this club. The longest I used to work for Nissan Motor Company and built Nissan plant in Smyrna, Tennessee, and at the behest of Mr. Thatcher, built Nissan plant in Sunderland, near Newcastle. But the question I have, I really truly appreciated your presentation, and we Japanese always thought that the stumbling block is the Ministry of Welfare and Labor, which is Japan's counterpart of FDA, and we always heard that the approval process is very slow, and I don't know what you think about it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I personally, I'm very close to Eli Lilly and Lilly Endowment. I'm a 1955 graduate of Wabash College, and I've been trustee since 1996. And we have several board members.
All right, let him answer the question. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyway.
Thank you very much, Gotsan. I think Mrs. Jackson shared in the beginning the reform program implemented approximately 10 years ago. The PMDA, which is the Japanese regulatory authority that is assessing and reacting and approving new medicines, used to be quite slow. It took a long time to get medicines approved in Japan. But 10, 12 years ago, there was a huge transformation of the Japanese regulatory authority, PMDA. And they increased the number of employees, they increased the productivity significantly. And there have also been a couple of years lately when actually PMDA was defined as being the most productive regulatory agency in the world. I think last year in 2017, they were again beaten by the FDA, but for 2 years before that, for 2 consecutive years, they were actually the number one agency. So in terms of the regulatory transformation work, that has been amazing the last 10 years and has more or less been a revolution within the PMDA. But that needs to continue, and that's what I refer to in terms of the new accelerated approval pathways. There is an area where Japan again is behind. So they need to continue to be in the front and define what good looks like today.
Yes. Yes, please.
Gerhard Fasol, I just want to ask you a very simple question referring to your number one priority. You said number one priority is incentivize innovation. So what concretely would you think about? Does that mean higher prices during the patent range of the time range of the patent, or you mean more venture investments, or you mean more simple situation at the universities and more opening up the universities? Because I was for some time professor at Tokyo University, so, and in Cambridge also, so I can compare, and there's a lot to be done here, I think, to make university system and research system more flexible. Is that one thing you would address?
I think, again, in the spirit of having one desire and one wish, I would say Japan is, together with many or most of the European countries, price-controlled markets. So there is no free pricing for our products. So I think what we're asking for is pricing stability at an appropriate level during the patented time period. And an appropriate price level we would define as being pretty much the average of the prices of the major 5 European markets and the US. That is the level of appropriate pricing, but securing pricing stability. Because today, Japan is the only country in the world which has its own R&D-based pharmaceutical industry, but regularly, currently biannual, and in the future maybe annually, is cutting prices of drugs, even during the patented time. And that makes Japan very unattractive for big research investments. I hope it clarifies.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for your speech. My name is Yusuke Wada. I'm an associate member, and I'm in the death industry. I'm a former undertaker. From the undertaker's point of view, the quality of life seems to be decreasing due to too much medication in Japan from elderly. And how do you feel about the reform of medicine? If the Japanese government is doing this for slow process of approval, or is it from too much medicine for your new quickness of new approved medication?
You know, I think the Japanese government is clearly focusing on improving quality of life as the society ages. And, you know, we've had a bit of a conversation about the need for better IT infrastructure here. And I think one of the things we talk about when we get into more technical discussions is the need to follow and control what medicines citizens are taking. We have heard very eloquent discussions by some of the professors we work with here talking about how they found a patient who was in a very terrible position, and it was actually because he was over-medicated. And I think what your point really underscores the need for a countrywide digital system where all patients are followed from A to Z. They can take their medical records with them. Other doctors can examine what they're looking at. And we think not only will that improve healthcare, it will improve lifestyle as the country ages, but it will also save a tremendous amount of money that can be reinvested towards pro-innovation incentives.
Yes, we still have some time. Okay, let me ask one question, very simple. When I buy, cold medicine from the United States, it's very effective over the shelf. But when I get it from Japan, it's not really very effective. So why is that, basically?
I think the fast and probably simple response is that many of the over-the-counter medicines sold in the United States are not approved in Japan. And I think there might be multiple reasons for that. Probably some of the active ingredients are too strong, and B, it might also be that several of those were developed a long time ago, and there has not been incentive enough to conduct special or the required trial programs in Japan. But I know what you're referring to.
All right, thank you. Just a minute. Any more questions from those who didn't ask? We still have like 5-6 minutes. Yes, please.
Maki Wakiyama, freelance. I have a question to Dr. Amy Jackson. You said that there will be a short-term cost cutting in Japanese healthcare system, and but after that there will be a better time for Japanese patient. And as I belong to the people, elderly, who are influenced by the short-term cost cutting, so would you tell me what kind of problems for patients will happen? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think that's a very important question. So, I think all three of us have mentioned this in a different way. Patrik Jonsson talked about all the cost savings that the Ministry of Finance targeted for the period between 2016 and 2018. 80% of those came out of cuts to innovative pharmaceutical products. As Patrik said, that's not sustainable moving forward. And this is the kind of short-term thinking that we're very concerned about. Instead of taking the longer-term look at how many hospital beds there are in Japan, how many days per average Japanese citizens stay in a hospital, etc. One of my colleagues gave a very specific example today where he said he has 2 colleagues in his company who are having hip replacements. One is based in the US and one is based in Japan. The one based in the US was in the hospital for 1 day and was sent home. He recuperated at home with advice from his doctor for 1 week, and he's now back to work telecommuting for now. His colleague in Japan will be in the hospital for 1 month and followed by many weeks of, supervised physical therapy before he can go back to work. I mean, these are the kind of more long-term, holistic looks at the healthcare system that clearly are needed if Japan's healthcare system is going to remain sustainable in the long term, rather than just looking at innovative drugs as quote-unquote too expensive and easy to cut. Because after a while, once you erode the incentives of drugs in Japan, those 1,000 medicines that I said in development in Japan now will slowly not be in development in Japan anymore. They will be in development in China, in the US, in Europe, and then Japanese patients will start getting them after a long lag, which is something we very much want to avoid happening.
Very good.
Thank you. Yes, somebody didn't ask. Any more question? There's somebody, yes. All right, please, very short question, last one.
Recently, Takeda pharmaceutical company made headlines because its chairman, Christoph Weber, spent billions of yen to buy out Irish pharmaceutical company Shire. In addition, he spent 60 billion yen to build a new company's head office, a skyscraper. Do you think such company is financially viable?
I think he's 60 billion.
60 billion, yeah.
Yes.
I know that there have been a lot of debate in media in regards to the acquisition of Shire. I have to admit I'm not the right one to assess whether that's the right or the wrong decision. And I think today, when I listen to many of my colleagues across the industry, There are both those being pro and those being opposed to it. I think whether it's a good deal or not, I think the future will tell. Because our business is a business with very long-term oriented decisions. And I think it will depend on their ability to capitalize on any synergies, productivity gains, but also how they can actually capitalize on joint know-how in the area of R&D. And several of those very early stage molecules that we currently have in the pipeline. So I'm not positioned, and I would say I'm probably not competent enough to assess whether it's the right or the wrong thing. I think the future will tell, but I think we need to at least give them some credit because it was a very bold move.
Just to add one additional point, and again, like Patrik, I can't comment, especially since Takeda is one of our member companies in the United States. But I will say that one of the things we've said to the Japanese government that we truly believe is that there's tremendous potential for the Japanese industry to grow. The biopharmaceutical industry is essential not only for aging Japan, but for aging US, Europe, and many other countries. This is an industry that can have a bright future and can indeed be a growth engine. And so we want the Japanese government to continue to offer incentives not only for us, but for domestic companies. And we think it's important that Japanese companies continue to grow, expand their market presence abroad, and become true global players.
Thank you very much. I think we wrap up our event with this reply. I appreciate your coming to the club today and give us this valuable presentation about pharma and your company. I wish you all the best. And please come again in the future. Thank you again. Thank you very much and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much.